All right, fig lovers. I believe we are live. Yep, we are. Okay, so first and foremost, if you guys can't hear me, let me know. I appreciate all of you. Any of you guys who've been following me over the years. We do this live stream every year. We talk about figs. We talk about how the season went, different varieties, important lessons. Thank you all for letting me be a part of your fig growing journey. So, I got a couple announcements before we begin. You can get all this announcements, by the way, if you subscribe to my newsletter. All the information here is also on my website. And the first announcement, very simply, we're going to have fig trees for sale. I know a lot of you guys have been asking me. Every year we sell fig trees in the fall. It's starting Wednesday, November 12th, but the sale is going to end on the 15th because I'm going to be shipping out all of the trees weekend of the 15th and the 16th and packaging them up and then hopefully getting them out on Monday or Tuesday. And we just can't have the sale last as long as I'd like because I'm not going to have any time because we're going to have to start immediately cutting trees, getting ready for the cutting sale. And the cutting sale is going to start November 30th. And that's going to be at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Both of these sales, they're at different times. I would recommend being there at the time the sale starts. Once it goes live, I'll update the inventories of all the varieties that will be available. And that way you can check out on my website, just right here. If it's the tree sale, as an example, you go to the fig tree section and all the inventories and things will update. You can check out like you would on any other website with a cart system. Here's the cart. The cart, however, does not save the varieties for you. Like it does not reserve them for you. So if you want a particular variety, there's going to be limited selection, and some of the varieties will sell out very quickly. So if you want it, you got to check out, and there's really no way around it. David Katz said, just me in here. Do I win some free cuttings or something? Maybe. There is some more people in here. By the way, if you guys can hear me, let me know down in the comments. Just want to make sure you guys are hearing me clearly. So anyway, back to the announcement. Like I said, everything's going to go really quickly. Like the cutting sale last year lasted like 2 days, and then we were sold out of everything. Um, the tree sale that's coming up here on the 12th, we're only going to have we're going to have about 50 to 60 or so 4-gallon size trees, and I'm going to have to cut those back to a foot. But I imagine most of those are going to go very quickly. So we'll have also 1 gallon and 2 gallon sizes for the trees. They're a bit smaller, but most people want the 4 gallon sizes because they're bigger. Um, and I'm telling you, they go quick. Then lastly, this was the coolest thing for me. I spent quite a bit of time recently putting together a booklet for you guys. It was a lot of fun. It took me a lot of time. It came out beautiful, by the way. Here's the cover. It's called Figure It Out, Choosing a Fig Variety. And you can see just how beautiful it is, but it also has a lot of substance. And again, it's about choosing a fig variety. These are the topics we cover. It's only a 15-page PDF. If I would have made it any longer, it would have took me weeks, weeks longer. I would have loved to have done that. I think we have plans to maybe do something like that in the future, where I can actually publish something on Amazon, as an example, and maybe have a physical copy. Um, Maybe I'll include like 15 to 20 varieties, a breakdown of each. So there'll be a page per variety. Um, One of my fig friends, who's one of the more respected people in the fig world, Pierre Bode in France, that's what he has done with one of his books. And I'd like to do something similar at some point. Then this eventually is going to turn into another book where you have all the different things that you can do to grow them. And that is going to be a long book to get all of all the information out. And you know what's interesting? It's not just about writing the book. You got to format the thing, you got to proofread it a million times. And I designed this in Canva. If anyone's ever used Canva, it's really easy to use, but it's like it can be very time consuming setting up the design and the style of this. You almost need like a whole team just to design the book. So, um, but it's worth it. And I've been wanting to do this forever. I know you guys have been asking me forever. Thank you guys, by the way, here for joining me and let me know you can hear me down in the comments. So, this to me is awesome. Like, it's one of the best things I've been able to do, I think, is create this blog first and foremost. I know the videos are awesome. Some of you guys prefer the videos over the blog, but putting your thoughts down in writing and really being able to explain yourself and why you have the opinions you have, and not just say, "Oh, well, this is my favorite variety," and that's it. There's very few people in the fig world who have put their thoughts down in writing. It's almost like if you compare it to someone who's published a paper, right? Scientific paper can be reproduced or should be able to reproduced, and you get the same results. It's the same thing I feel like with these figs. That's how serious I take it. Um, on that note, I actually have a pretty interesting announcement on the little side thing here. Um, Michael McConkey, I talked to him just a few weeks ago at Edible Landscaping. He's got a great nursery, sells all kinds of fruiting plants. I've recommended his nursery to you guys for years. When I first started getting fruit trees, he was like one of the first people I got in touch with. And him and George over there, they are the nicest people. And they really know their stuff. They really do. You can ask them any question. They're so knowledgeable about all fruiting plants. And I talked to Mike. I've been trying to get Michael to grow some of the varieties that I grow here in Philadelphia down there in Virginia. He's in 7B, maybe even slightly higher now. I don't know if he got moved up. But here in 7A, it's a little bit more tough, a little bit more difficult to grow figs. And Michael has basically, in his nursery, all the good ones, all the classics. But I found varieties, as you guys know, that do so well. That's what we're going to talk about shortly here. Just bear with me. Um, and I wanted Michael and other nurseries to have these varieties so they could start spreading them throughout the world, not just through me. Getting these in the hands of other nurserymen, and they're just that special, in my opinion. So Michael said, "Well, Ross, I didn't want to get into all the different fig varieties because there's just so many, and trialing them and putting them out there in the field takes up a lot of space, and then you end up having a dud, and it's like it's a waste of time." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know it has been uh, a giant time suck what I've done. It definitely cost a pretty penny, but in the end, it was worth it." And I found some of these varieties, and Michael was like, "Yeah, let's do it." So I'm gonna send him at least 3 to 5 varieties that I think would do well just about anywhere that he doesn't have in his nursery, and that way we can really start getting these out to people. Um, I'd also like to let's see here. Who do I want to give a shout out to? What's interesting, guys? I'll say this. There's a lot of you out there who are really starting to come around and do great things in the world of figs. And it's really cool to see. I want to give a shout out to my friend Brian Melton. He has really done a fantastic job. ProFig USA. He's always been extremely knowledgeable, and he took the leap of faith to quit his job and become a full-time fig grower, a commercial fig grower. I don't have the land yet to do something like that if I wanted to. Uh, and it's also a lot more challenging here, but he's put in the work, man. He did it. Shout out to him. Also, really like what David Burke is doing. I've talked to him many times. That man and his family are just the nicest people. I know everybody has an opinion about everybody. Okay, if you're in the fig communities, you're really deep in the weeds with all this crap. I guarantee you they are some of the nicest people you would have met in your life. And the work that they're doing collecting these varieties is incredible. Um, you know what? There's a lot of you guys out there. Troy Pretty. Let's give a shout out to Troy real quick. Have you guys, I don't know if you've seen any of his content, but Troy has been just pumping out content that anybody out there who just wants to sit back and just enjoy what it's like being a commercial fig grower and having the setup that he did and really, oh, he took the leap of faith just like Brian did. And he's doing it in a much worse climate. He's got his awesome greenhouse. Um, he's, by the way, one of the few commercial growers like Brian who's actually putting out information that's really helpful to people. Um, a lot of commercial growers they keep to themselves. They don't tell people these kind of things. And you can talk to Troy, and he's got a number of varieties that I've seen him publish videos on and things that do really well in a commercial setting, and they last really long in the fridge. Um, it's just it was really eye-opening to learn from him, and I'm just happy that there are other people that I can listen to and learn something from and take the information that they put forth and they're doing something great with it. What I've been doing here, or what I've been really hoping for, is that people take the information that I put forth and run with it, improve it, and that I eventually can see what they're doing after they've been doing this for a number of years, and then I can learn from them. I don't know everything. Um, I've told you guys that a lot, and you know what? You guys recognize that this whole journey has been a learning experience. That's the journey of figs. There is an interesting article I want to publish in the future, in the near future, maybe in the next couple months. But it's actually about how to really evaluate fig varieties because there's a lot of pitfalls that people make. And you could be, believe it or not, incorrectly evaluating fig varieties based on assumptions that you might have. And it's just it really would I think help people to hear some of this information. One of them in particular, let's see. We talk a lot about cold hardy varieties. Well, you can't say a fig variety isn't cold hardy until you've grown it in the ground for like 3 to 7 years in a cold place, exposed it to cold temperatures like 5 degrees Fahrenheit or below, and the variety was lignified well. If it wasn't lignified, well, it's not going to even withstand like 15 or 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So for you to say it's not hardy is just completely false. Texas BA1, aka Smith, has done really well on the ground for me. I think it needs more sunlight than I've been able to give it on the western side of my property. Oh my God, there's so many trees on the western side of the property. But that's one that people have said is not hardy, but there it is. It's done well, even in this past brutal winter that we had. It was able to fruit and survive and really take not that much winter damage. That's incredible. Then you've actually got some trees this past winter where I thought, wow, they're really well lignified going into this year. There's no way they're going to take a lot of winter damage. And they did. So in that sense, you could say, all right, they're not hardy. Or maybe even then, here's the other point. If you had one fig tree in the ground and it didn't do well, and all the other things were right about the lignification, everything was good. Well, why don't you put another copy of it in a different spot? Maybe the one you have is a dud. Maybe it's amazing. I've got, you know, 4 or 5 Campanile trees in the ground. I got 4 or 5 more De Caneva trees in the ground. Not every single one of them has done well in terms of cold hardiness. So there's a lot of things like this. People evaluate their varieties. If you have underwatered your fig tree at any point, especially this happens in pots, you ruined the entire crop of fruits for the rest of the year until You can get new figs to form, or maybe the figs were still a little bit small at the time when you underwatered it, and it's okay. What I mean is these figs, when you underwater these trees, the fruits might not fall off the tree, but they take damage. And you don't see it until when they actually ripen. And you can really tell with a trained eye. So then if you're evaluating a variety and the tree was underwater and the fruits are damaged, you're going to have all these assumptions about all these observations about the variety that are false because it's not going to do well in the rain. It's not going to even taste good. It's not, it probably won't even look right. It might even look mislabeled. So there's just so many things out there. I want to give another shout out to, give me 1 second here. I want to give one more shout out. I want to make sure. So I want to give a shout out to my friend Toronto Joe. Joe has always been a really great guy. He's helped me out tremendously in the past, and he created this year. I'm not exactly sure on the date, I forget, but I gave him a shout out somewhere on social media in the past. But Joe had created his own forum for a good reason. Um, I don't necessarily, maybe some of you guys know the history of me with these forums and communities and things. But Joe has a really great crew over there. It's called figfanatic.com. And yeah, if you're just a part of a group for fig trees and you're not a part of his group, I would recommend joining. That's it. All right. So let's get on to some of the varieties. Oh, yeah. By the way, if you want to check out the book, it's on the website. I've got it here on the website. You can download it just as a PDF if you want. That's the only way to get it right now. So it's a digital copy, but I would be surprised because I did design this in Canva. If you really wanted, you could put this, if you got some really nice paper and you were willing to spend a little bit of extra time and money, you could get the PDF and put it on some really nice paper and it would look awesome. It's designed for that. I just did not have the time. I wanted to get this out before my sale went live. And this is partly why I'm doing this live stream right now to talk about varieties and things, because I want people to understand the varieties that they choose is important and which varieties they should choose. So do me a favor, check it out. Uh, it's so much great information in this, I promise. All right, so let's get on a little bit to. I wanted to talk about what I learned this year. Every year you learn something new. A lot of the growing techniques that we've introduced to people and tried in the past have uh, some of them have been a little bit weird, some of them out of the norm, some of them we're just like, this doesn't have much of a shot to work. And some of it actually did work out really well. And we've talked a lot about these techniques, things like rejuvenation pruning. Let's see, what else? Things like the hang time, uh, all these various things. But this year I don't think I really learned a whole lot in terms of like growing them. What the big thing I learned this year about was pollination, and we've been like I've talked to David Burke before in the past a lot about his pollination, and I knew after eating his pollinated figs that he had sent me in the mail, and also other people had sent me in the mail. Right, I even tasted them in many years ago. My friend Doug let us taste some incredible figs from California of amazing varieties. That just spoiled the crap out of us. But once you start hand pollinating these figs, you can't go back. I promise you, it's so hard. It's so hard to go back. I talk about all the time how when you get figs sort of dried, semi-dried on the tree, they start to shrivel. There's like nothing that beats it. I know some of you guys pick your figs a little bit early and maybe you like that. That's fine. But you cannot, I'm telling you, from my own perspective and a lot of other people's perspective I talk to, that is just like an unbelievable piece of fruit if you can get them to dry on the tree. And that's what we talk about every year. The best fig is always the one that's the most ripe on that day. I could have 30 varieties in front of me, and that's usually the one that's the best. And the one that does that the most often is amazing. So we're going to touch more on that in a minute. But these pollinated figs, they don't even have to, they don't have to be shriveled or somewhat dried on the tree. They just have to be ripe, just, just to that ripeness level to where, some of that resin flavor goes away, maybe some of the melon flavor goes away, and they're just unbelievable. And some people I've heard in the past, I've shared so much information. They say, "Oh well, you know, only some varieties actually improve their flavor and their eating experience after pollinating them." I have not found that to be true. Every single fig that I have hand pollinated in my yard was a significant, at least to my taste, my palate, was actually somewhat significant in its improvement of the eating experience. So it doesn't matter what variety you pollinate, they're all going to taste better because of that. Now, there is a negative. The shape of the fruits will generally be a bit more fat and flat and not that long, slender shape you need in a humid climate. It's unavoidable. It is what it is with certain varieties. Other varieties, when you pollinate them, they're fine. This was a, let me just show you guys a quick video here. We're going to get to actual photos, I promise. All right, so this here is actually, sorry, I had some noise there in my ear. I don't know if you guys heard that, but this is the one. It's a Celeste with a fancy name. It's my personal favorite of the Celeste trout. Maybe we'll talk about that in a little bit. But this was a pollinated Celeste, and it was pretty darn good. Um, it actually had some acidity to it, much stronger berry flavor. I was very, very impressed. So even Celeste improved, and it improved quite a bit, I would say. From, let's say if you rank it out of 10, let's say unpollinated, it's like an 8 or 8.5 or something out of 10 or whatever it is. I don't know. That brought it up to like a 9.5. Like this Celeste fig was one, it was like one of the better figs I ate all year. And it's not like it's just like a huge jump, uh, like some varieties can be. They really improve with pollination. Celeste just improved, and it was like a whole next level higher than any Celeste I ate that was unpollinated. So for me, it's amazing. Another fig I ate was Figo Roxo. Now I pollinated this one. You could see, look at that red honey. Look at that red honey coming out of the eye. Now, I didn't get many of these this year. You know what's weird? When you damage figs in some way, or any fruit, you could try this with any fruit. It happens with persimmons a lot. Persimmons will take damage, if they take any damage on them as they're developing, they tend to ripen earlier than the ones that didn't take any damage. Same thing happens with figs. You stick a needle in your fig and pollinate it, it generally ripens earlier than the rest of the figs on the tree. Now they do this technique. It's called some commercial people do this. I can't remember the name of it. It's a technique. Slashing? I think it's called slashing. I don't know how to do the technique, but I do know that if you poke needle through your fruits, they generally ripen a little bit earlier. Uh, Now, I wasn't sure at first if these fruits were pollinated. Then I ate them because this is such an amazing variety, even unpollinated. Pollinated, this is like eating pure raspberry jam. Like unbelievable raspberry jam. I was shocked when I ate this. It was like some of the best and most intense berry flavor I'd ever eaten in a fig. I would highly recommend you guys try to find that one. Um, even unpollinated or not, it doesn't matter. It's an awesome fig. I planted a lot of them in the ground after last year, realizing how good it was. Just to try to get more cuttings and trees of it. So pollination's the way to go. There is a um, the UC Davis Capra fig is what I'm selling and using to gather pollen. There's a lot of Capra figs out there. I just don't test. It's still working. Microphone's still working. All right. I don't know. Well, by the way, if you guys have questions, I know I'm looking right now at the chat here. I will definitely answer your questions. We'll get to that at the end. What I just heard like one of those sounds in my ear that said something disconnected in my computer, but it seems like everything's fine. If you guys can't hear me, just let me know. I think everything's fine. All right, whatever. We're going back to where were we even at just now? So the UC Davis Capper fig. By the way, shout out to Hussein, Trees of Paradise. He's got a lot of varieties. He's doing a great job collecting them. I know he doesn't have a ton of time. He was telling me, but for what he's able to do, he's doing a great job. He's actually found some like seedlings in California that turned out to be really good, like UC Davis Mini. Um, there's another one or two from him, and I can't remember if they're from him or not, but there's one called Sacramento River that turned out to be really good. Um, long story short, he found this Capra fig. There's a lot out there. You know, you got to be careful with the Capra figs because not every Capra fig will produce pollen. I believe they have to be persistent, and I don't even know if every persistent Capra fig will produce pollen in the Profici crop. So it's a bit weird. Capra figs are so misunderstood. I'm sure if I got someone like David Burke on here, he could explain it a lot better than I could. Regardless, this is one that I know produces a lot of pollen. And the cool part about it is it will produce a main crop very late in the season that tastes incredible. So it's kind of like a two-in-one fig. You get the Brabas, which are plentiful. That's the where you get the pollen. And then you get the main crop. If you're lucky, you got a long enough season, it produces some incredible fruits. So I actually planted this one in the ground to try to get a lot of cuttings for it, send out to people. I'm sure a lot of people are going to go crazy for it. There's other varieties that are persistent caprifigs that produce pollen, but this is, and I haven't even tried them truthfully, but I was so impressed with this caprifig because of the quality of the main crop. I was shocked. I was absolutely dumbfounded. I couldn't believe how good this fruit was. And it was so late in the season. I was like, there's no way this is going to taste good. Um, but it did. And it doesn't need pollination, right? All right. So that's what you need if you want to start hand pollinating. If you don't have the fig wasp in your area, you gotta get a capra fig, grow it out for a couple years to get the Brava, the Profici crop. Um, I would recommend growing a number of these in pots. If you can't grow them in the ground, you don't live in a warm enough place, then you extract the pollen, put it in a pollen water solution. I actually did a video this year. I will try to find it and I'll put it in the description of this video for anyone that's interested when we're done. Um, the video explains the whole pollination process. It's like an updated view on the pollination process. It came out maybe like a month or two ago, and yeah, it's a game changer. So that's what I learned this year, basically, is that in a nutshell, some varieties will just go leaps and bounds when they're pollinated. Their flavor and eating experience will go crazy. But almost every variety I've eaten, I'm telling you, gets better by some significant degree that's worth noting. I've probably pollinated close to about 20, 25 varieties now. And I collected seeds this year. That's the other cool thing. We're doing a breeding project. We're starting a breeding project next year. I have so many figs now that are pollinated, collected the seeds from them, and we'll see what we get. It'll be whatever the variety was that I pollinated as one of the parents. That's the female fig, and UC Davis Capra fig will be the male fig. And it'll be interesting. I don't know. We're gonna learn something from that. I have no doubt. Just growing figs from seed is not something I've ever done. So we're there's just you will there is no doubt I will learn something. So that's pretty cool for me. Um, all right. Let's talk a little bit about the varieties now. That's what I've learned this year. Let's see here. So, as you guys know, every year we update this article. It's the best varieties for humid climates. I did actually talk a lot about hardy varieties earlier this year. We published a video. I did not update this article, and I have not updated the humid variety article yet. Got so much to do with these different sales and things. But the hardy variety, um, the hardy varieties, there was about 10 or so varieties, somewhere in there, that didn't take any winter damage this year. And this was a really brutal year. So those you have to put at the top of the list for now. Um, a lot of them I was kind of shocked by things like Vagabond, um, Val Kimonica, Long Green. We'll talk a little bit more about those. Hunt was a really surprising one. LSU Purple, I mean, that was a little bit small, so I don't know if we can count that, but that one didn't take any damage. St. Martin, it's supposed to be a very hardy fig, didn't take any damage. Floria or Michurinska 10, Campanieri, Caneva, and Green Michurinska took very minimal amounts of damage. But that I think is partly due to the fact, well, Campanieri is not in this category, but Caneva and Green Michurinska, they grew a lot last year, and the balance of their hormones did not favor lignification. Did a technique called reverse pruning, which basically is going to lower the tree's hardiness no matter what. So it did take some damage, but both of those trees produced Breva, which is incredible. So did Vagabond, so did Val Kimonica Long Green. Um, LSU Tiger took no winter damage either. That was a shocker. Safrari is a very hardy variety, produced a lot of Breva. Shocked by that one as well. Um, oh, and maybe the best one, JH Adriatic, produced some Breva, took no winter damage. We're going to talk more a little bit about what I think are the best varieties for this area. I would probably argue the same thing for people in the Midwest, the Northeast, most of the Mid-Atlantic. Um, that's a large portion of the country, but there are like five varieties I would say you gotta choose. And the reason can narrow it down to the five varieties um, is because a lot of other varieties are not proven hardy just yet. What I mean is, actually, we could just kind of go into this. So if I'm going to recommend a variety to somebody in this area or the Northeast or the Midwest, it's cold. Cold in the wintertime. You gotta have a hardy variety. And by the way, putting them in the ground, way better than growing them in pots. You're growing them in pots, you're missing out. I'm telling you, you're missing out. It's one of the best things you can do. You're not only going to have a better Breva crop, they're going to taste good. You're going to have way more figs. The fruits in general taste better. They're way more easy to care for. Um, then the next level to that is just pollinating them. But yeah, anyway, so you gotta put them in the ground, in my opinion. And if I'm gonna recommend somebody to grow a fig in the ground, it's got to be hardy, right? Because if it's gonna die back to the ground, or it's gonna take a lot of winter damage, the fruits are gonna be later, 2 to 8 weeks later at least. They may not ripen at all, depending on how severe the winter damage is, and the fruit quality is gonna be lower. Everybody out there, by the way, who has an espalier fig tree, you have a low cordon system, you cut the trees back to the cordon every year, your fruits are lower quality. Sorry. They're bigger, by the way, they're going to be bigger, but they're not going to taste as good. And it's just because of the pruning. There's nothing else that does it. It's the way the trees grow in response to that pruning is they put out a lot of growth. The leaves are huge. The fruits tend to be bigger because the leaves are bigger, and because the fruits are bigger, you end up getting a lower quality. Um, I've You can always taste the difference between a tree. You can test this yourself. A tree that has grown a lot of suckers, produce fruit on the suckers. Compare that fruit to the fruit that ripens on wood that did not take winter damage, that was not pruned back improperly. The difference is clear. The taste is clear, and the size is going to be a pretty significant difference too. Um, this is one of the things I really wanted to test with long de oot, because long de oot, when you grow it from sucker and it actually can fruit on those suckers from dieback, the fruits are huge, just absolutely mad. They're too big. Then if you compare it to a long de oot tree that actually survives the winter, isn't pruned improperly, doesn't fruit on those suckers, the fruits are much smaller. And as a result, you actually can grow it in an area that, maybe has a little bit more moisture than you'd like. And then you get a better tasting fig. Um, it's all about, like I said, getting the fig as ripe as possible without splitting, without getting mold, fermentation, fruit flies, as ripe as possible, the most consistently. All right. So the 5 varieties that I want to mention here, I was just telling somebody about this the other day. Um, for this area, the Midwest, most people in the Mid Atlantic, you have to narrow it down to 5 varieties because these are all going to cover the whole harvest window for the most part. You got, and they also taste great, by the way. You got Ronde Bordeaux. Now, Ronde Bordeaux is the only one on this list that I've thrown in there that's not hardy. The only reason I threw it in there is because it fills a gap very early in the season. It produces a lot of figs right when the season starts for the main crop. So if you can get a tree like that through the winter time, even though it's not very hardy, it'll produce a lot of fruit that tastes good. You're going to love it. It's going to produce a lot of fruit. Um, and so it fills that gap of the main crop early in the season. But there's 4 other varieties: Moro de Caneva, Campanieri, Green Michurinska, and any of the Adriatic varieties. These are all extremely hardy trees, and they fill all the gaps. They're extremely rain resistant. They're very tasty. As an example, I would even say that if you could only if you wanted like the very best one for these areas, it would be the Adriatic fig. It just would. And I really should take some video, but you should see some of the figs I'm harvesting off these Adriatic trees from an Inground tree. They taste so good. They ripe to perfection almost every time. Uh, now here's the problem with it. It ripens a little bit too late. You get them here in Philadelphia about September 1st. Now you do get some Braba, but it's not a lot. Now, you get Green Machurinska. Here's the cool part. Green Machurinska tastes almost identical to the Adriatic figs, but it ripens 2 weeks earlier and produces a ton of Brava. So it's like, uh, it's a no-brainer, you know? I can't, it's hard to argue against it. Then you have Moro de Caneva, which also is going to be hardy, produce a ton of Brava, but it ripens earlier than Green Machurinska. So you're getting that progression, right? You're getting Ronde Bordeaux, Caneva, Green Machurinska, and uh, JH Adriatic. Now, throwing Campanieri in there, it's not producing any Brava. I thought it was supposed to be a bifera variety. That's what I read uh, from Figures de Monde, and it's produced some in pots, but it hasn't really done that in the ground, and I don't understand why. I guess it never will. But you have to give Campanieri credit. It doesn't necessarily fill a gap necessarily, because if you just had those four, you've got the gap covered already in your harvest window. But the figs are like perfect every single time. And I don't understand. I was talking to somebody about this, and they were telling me, somebody was telling them that's in my area, that they don't even know, or that they weren't even a big fan. They were telling them as like advice, basically. This is a long thing. I was talking to somebody giving them advice. They had heard other people's advice also in our area, and those people were saying, don't grow Campanieri and don't grow Green Machurinska. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. The proof's in the pudding, people. I don't have to, as I said, I like to explain the reasons why. You can read about all these varieties here on my blog, but the proof is in the trees in my yard. You see the trees, you see the fruit produced from them. I've got many videos on them now. They are incredible. Um, Now, here's the problem, right? You got all these other varieties in these for humid climates. That's why we create this article. That's why we update it. The problem is, most of them, I haven't been able to figure out how hardy they are. Celeste, actually, very hardy tree. So this one, Celeste, could be even in this category because we already know how hardy it is. Hardy Chicago, we already know how hardy it is. It's got all the things you need, but I prefer all the other varieties I mentioned over the two of these. Now, if Black Celeste, as an example, if we could get Black Celeste to be a hardy tree, well, then I would have to put it in this top five. It immediately would have to go in there because of that little extra bit of flavor, that little boost, and how well it dries on the tree. Um, you just go down the list here. It's like, well, I'm not forgetting about these varieties. I'm not like, oh, here's a good classic example. Teramo. It's an incredible fig for humid climates. I would put it on the same level as Campanieri, maybe even slightly better. When I have dried Teramo figs or Campanieri figs, they're like the first ones I'm eating. Those and the Adriatics, every time. Um, the reason for that, but the reason why it's not in the top five is because Teramo, my tree died all the way to the ground. And it was very well lignified. And I thought, well, this doesn't seem right. Why did this happen? So it was a bummer, actually. I was pretty upset about it. Now, does that mean Teramo's not a hardy tree? No, it doesn't mean that. It just means maybe we should put a Teramo in the ground somewhere else. Maybe we just got a little bit unlucky. Maybe there was something wrong with the Teramo tree that we weren't really aware of, this particular tree, and that's why it died to the ground. Is it going to be a hardy tree in the future? We don't know. Can we definitively say it's not a hardy tree? We can't. We need so many more years of data. All right. So that's enough with that. I think you guys got the point. Um, all right. There is one variety on this list. I said this in the past. I would not do this, where I would not remove, if they're on this list, they sh they should not be removed. Well, here's the crazy thing. I said this before earlier. If you put a fig tree in the ground, the fruits taste better. They generally, by the way, are going to be slightly larger in general. They're going to have a longer and slender shape, and they're going to have a longer stem. So a variety that doesn't do well with moisture, as great maybe as it should, you put it in the ground, all of a sudden it becomes much better. And maybe that's enough to push certain varieties over the edge. The opposite has happened with LSU Tiger. Now, what has happened is that, and I would say maybe even long to oot, because they're in the ground, they're now larger fruits, and all of a sudden they're getting attacked by fruit flies. They're fruit fly magnets. So for me, even though this tree is like perfect in every other way, uh, LSU Tiger, I just have to remove it from the list. The rain gets to it a little bit too much. It starts to ferment. And for anybody in a humid climate, here's the other crazy thing. Everybody, you guys listening right now in Louisiana, you're so proud of LSU and the varieties from LSU. Now, maybe this is the case down in, these really humid places, almost tropical climates, like, in the far south. But up here, these LSU varieties, they are not better figs than Celeste. LSU tried to improve Celeste. None of them are an improvement over Celeste. It's cool that they released them. It's cool that they're different. It's cool that they taste good. It's cool that they actually perform well. Even here, they perform well. Champagne's a good fig. Tiger is still a great fig here. LSU Purple, LSU Huye. They're all four of them great figs. They're not on the level of Celeste. Let's not kid ourselves here. Um, I know a lot of you don't want to hear that, but it has to be said. The only improvement to Celeste is actually Black Celeste because it's a mutation of the original. All right. So we got to remove Tiger. It's sad. Um, by the way, I did get some really good Tiger figs this year. It's not like I didn't get any. Here's, I think, one at the beginning of the season. One of the first ones I got. By the way, ridiculously productive this year. Insanely productive. Is producing doubles, a lot of doubles. But it's a shame. The rains came in or whatever it is, the fruit flies got them, and I couldn't get them perfect. I had to harvest them all early. And when you got to harvest figs early, they just don't taste as good. So if they don't taste as good, they get knocked down. Now, if you wanted to harvest your tiger figs early in a humid climate, I've made this argument before in this article when we talk about, excuse me, certain varieties like Dotado. Dotado is actually a great fig. I don't know if I mentioned it. We talked about it before in one of these videos that we did for, I know, but Dotado, when you pick it under ripe, tastes fantastic. The Adriatic figs picked under ripe, they still taste fantastic. Tiger, it's not like it's a bad fig when it's underripe. It's just nowhere near as good. And the cool part about Tiger is that when it starts to dry on the tree, you get this awesome difference in texture. The skin dries, the pulp is contrasted with the skin. You get this nice, thick, leathery pulp that's really pleasant to eat. I know some people, by the way, if you've had a dried Adriatic fig on the tree, you know what I'm talking about. That leathery skin. Some of the Coldadams get like this. Black Madeira can get like this. Um, anyway, so you could pick some of these figs under ripe. Martinenca Blanca, Jouale Noir, they taste pretty darn good under ripe. And so that's an important quality, especially for the late varieties. Um, but I just don't love the flavor of LSU Tiger under ripe. You could, like I said, you could pick them all under ripe. You could process them for jam. I mean, I made so much jam this year out of LSU Tiger. All right. We got a long list here, so we got to get through this, I think. All right. One of the figs I think people are sleeping on is Salche. These are videos from last year. I filmed some videos this year, but I think I deleted them by accident. There's a couple of number of videos from a certain period of time I deleted. This fig dries really well on the tree. You get them almost perfect every time. Now, there is a point in which they'll start to ferment, so you don't want to go too far, but they're really good. This is such an underrated fig. They're a little bit weird in terms of their shape sometimes. I'm definitely planting one or two of these in the ground. Um, I like the flavor of it too. It's something a little different. It's not too sweet. You get an interesting sugar fig out of it, and I find it's just different. I do. Some of you guys out there, I don't know if you really appreciate some of the non-berry figs, but there's a lot of value in some of the honey and sugar figs. And when I pick these, I eat them. I'm not, some of this, I'm at the point now, guys, where I have too many figs to eat sometimes. I wonder if maybe you guys can tell me if my sound, my audio is just a little bit bad here. You know what? Let me just check here. Yeah, we're still connected, so it should be good. All right. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, get off track there. What was I even saying? Yeah, you really should pay attention, I think, to some more of these sugar and honey figs. They really, really do have some value. Um, they're just something different. It's definitely a very different experience, eating experience that I think is just well worth it. Some people I don't, they're like, oh, it's not super berried flavor. I promise you, Salche is a really tasty fig. Um, all right. And I would even want to put it into this article. I haven't updated the article yet. We still have to get through a lot of work I have coming up here, but I promise you it almost does belong in here. I'm kind of on the fence about it, but because like I said, I don't want to remove any varieties. If I put them on here, they should be on here for good. Um, okay, Montalcino Rosso. This is a fig I've had for like years, but I wasn't able to get it to fruit. And it's really quite good in terms of production, rain resistance. Let me see if I can find the video. Here's one right here that was really tasty. Now, it doesn't have a super intense berry flavor. It's a good sugar fig, really high quality. Look at these fruits. They're nice and elongated, long stem, exactly what we look for in this climate. Exactly. That ripens mid-season. By the way, here's the production on this tree. Look at that. I immediately saw this when I got this tree. Was growing it in a pot, and one of the first few years I had it, I was like, "This is so good. I'm going to plant it in the ground." And then I planted it in the ground, and I wasn't watering it enough, and I didn't get the fruits to ripen. They all dropped off. The big blunder. But now it's years later. The tree's in the ground still. I have a bunch of them in pots. I'm going to be selling quite a few of them actually coming up. And it's a really high quality fig. I wonder how hardy it is. That's my only thing. It's really exceptional. In terms of just overall high quality variety, I would highly recommend it. Now there is LSU, not LSU, Hunt. It's not an LSU variety, excuse me. I can't remember what it was bred with. I thought, yeah, LSU Purple is one of the parents of Hunt. This is one of the trees that survived the winter this year with no damage, and it produced a lot of high quality fruit in pretty shady spot. Uh, I don't know why people have slept on this. Shout out to Cliff H. He posted a thread years ago on our figs. It got me interested in Hunt. Ever since then, I've been trying to get trees established of it. It's really tasty. It actually, by the way, looks very similar to Montalcino Rosso. They're not the same. Um, they certainly taste rather similar, so that's something interesting. But yeah, just keep that into consideration there. Um, so, but by the way, Hunt's got it all. We already know it's hardy, productive, produces a ton of fruit. They're not the same. I definitely just thinking about it a little bit more. Montalcino Rosso and Hunt are definitely not the same. Okay, Forestera. By the way, we have to add Hunt to the list. Montalcino Rosso's got to be on this list of humid varieties. Forestera de Con Review. I don't know how if that's you pronounce it. This is a Pons fig. Purposely have this article or this his website opened up. Here it is. This is the variety name. This doesn't look like much. This really doesn't look like much. I mean, you read about this variety. He does say it tastes pretty good, I guess. These were some of the best figs I had this year. From an unpollinated tree, these are some of the best tasting figs I had. Uh, I was shocked. I was almost like, are we sure this is labeled properly? But you could see the fig. I mean, it looks right. Maybe a little bit more elongated, that particular one. The shape's the most important thing when you're identifying a variety. And that doesn't look like much. But I promise you, I ate that and I couldn't believe how good it was. They're also drying on the tree really well. Caneva, you know what? Ronde Bordeaux does this. It doesn't really dry on the tree like a Campaniere or Teramo would. You know, they'll totally dry on the tree here. Uh, Hunt, Montalcino Rosso, they don't really dry on the tree. They shrivel, but they don't really get to that point. It's a weird thing. There's like if you really study, if you really like observe the varieties and you really get them to dry on your trees a lot, you'll see that certain varieties don't really dry the same way as other varieties. I don't really know how to explain it. In the past, I've said that they're kind of like fig candy. Ronde Bordeaux turns into like fig candy. So do these. Montalcino Rosso, Hunt, they turn into that consistency. But Forestera, it actually seems like it can dry, like truly dry on the tree. Let me see the other video we have. This might not even do it justice either. There's some more of the fruits. Productive tree ripens relatively. No, it's not too late to ripen. Ripened, I think, all the figs on this tree. Long harvest window. You'll see that here with Pons's description. This is pretty decent harvest window. Um, Let me just see the inside. This one here is like dried on the tree. It was really, really good. And it has a more intense berry flavor. I know you wouldn't even know it like by looking at the color there, but the flavor of the berry is really intense and it's got some acidity to it. I'm telling you, it was some of the best figs I ate this year. Um, One of the other varieties I was really impressed with, and I don't think we have video because I deleted it, but Calderona de Minor. Yeah, we don't have any. And also Martinenca. Here it is. My Martinenca Ramada tree I bought from somebody years ago reverted on me. And I think it just happens all the time. This variety is so difficult to get it to behave. There's a lot of figs still on the tree to this day. It's pretty late. All the figs this year ripened rather late, much later than normal. I was really surprised about that because I thought we had a pretty good spring. We didn't. This is a high quality fig. I would not say it's on the level of like Black Madeira in terms of its flavor and that amazing experience that you get. Martinenca Ramada is just not there. Martinenca is not there, but it's close. It's not too far away. It really is kind of a different fig. It's not really a fair comparison. Um, but for me, this is a really productive tree. It grows well, it fruits easily. The fruits are a little bit late, but they do well in the fall. They do well in the fall. They ripen well in the rain. Um, this is just a high quality variety. So I would be very inclined. It's so weird because I don't even think the fruits I ripened on this are that similar to Martinenca. Um, look at the cracking. I guess the shape is somewhat similar. Yeah, I mean, that's what they look like for the most part, without the stripes. Kind of a bummer. Um, Certainly no cracking, or very little cracking, I should say. Is there cracking in this? No, definitely no cracking. That's could be a difference in nitrogen in the soil, but too much nitrogen, by the way, you get cracking. Not good. All right, that's one of them. Calderona de Minor, I appreciated it for the same reasons I like Martinenca, but I think it's even slightly better um, in terms of flavor. Um, and it really seemed to avoid almost all the moisture. It's pretty incredible. All right. All right. So these are some of the ones that I think. All right. Well, my friend Bill in Missouri, shout out to Bill. Some of you might know who he is. He's pretty quiet, kind of keeps to himself. I talk to him a lot about figs. And over the years, he has found a fig variety called, in his, in his, I guess, I don't know how you put it, in his quest for every fig variety in existence, he has acquired a fig from John Verdict at Figs for Fun called Communa Small Black. And this is it. Now, Communa Small Black, you might not think of it as much from these photos. Um, but it, by the way, it's not a black fig either. Look at it. Why is it called Communa Small Black? Well, we realized we did a lot of research and figured out that this fig was actually imported to the United States from Italy. I know who even exported it. I know who imported it. Um, and this variety came with two other varieties, and they're all called, the name is actually not correct. They're all called Val Kimonica, and then the description of the fig. So this one here is actually Val Kimonica long green. There's a large black and a small black. Now, I tried getting the large black. I think the other two are lost. The large black ended up being long goo, and I don't know if that was even properly labeled because there's a lot of crap with these three varieties. Let me just It's not even worth going into. But Bill for years grew this one. He's been growing this I think for almost like 10 years or something crazy. And he calls me up one day. He's like, Ross, you gotta try this fig. And he sends me the fig in the mail. It's got a fig on it. I eat it. Couldn't believe how good it was. Then I immediately start saying to myself, all right, Bill's got to be right about this one. It dries well on the tree. It does extremely rain resistant. Let's try to get as many copies of it. Plant one in the ground. I get another copy, plant that in the ground, keep getting more copies and putting them all in the ground. In the meantime, Bill's trying to gather more of a rapport. We're trying to understand the variety more. We do a lot of research, try to figure out the history of this one. And he doesn't want to hype it. And I don't think it doesn't need to be hyped. I mean, uh, what I was surprised about it is that it's actually a very hardy tree. As I said, the hardy varieties, it produced Breva this year and it took no damage this year from the brutal winter that we had. Now, if you know anything about Val Kimonica, what does that mean? It's a valley in Italy, and it's actually quite a cold place. This valley here is not far away from where I visited in my trip there a few years ago to Riva del Garda. And I spent a lot of time actually in the mountains here. Um, this is, not too far away from the Dolomites. Any variety from this region of Italy, you can just zoom out a little bit and draw a line from like here, just this whole area. These are some of the best figs that are going to do well in our climate. There's a lot of hidden treasures in here. Ponte Tresa is one from this area. Verdolino is from this area. Moro de Caneva is from over here somewhere. That's where Caneva is. So it only makes sense that one of the varieties from that valley could potentially do well, and it ends up that's the case. It dries well on the tree. It's rain resistant. But here's the thing, and this is where you don't want to get things. I don't want to get things wrong here because if it doesn't dry on the tree or start to shrivel on the tree, it doesn't taste that good. The real value in it is when it starts to dry on the tree. And guess what? It doesn't take that long. It doesn't take that long at all. That's one of the cool parts about Campanile and Teramo. They like totally dry on the tree in like 5 or 6 days. They're shriveled on the tree in like 3 or 4 days. It's incredible. So it's got a lot of value, and I actually collected some seeds, I think, pollinated some seeds. One of the other weird things from the variety is it produced Breva, and the Breva was just so strange looking that I almost thought it was like Profici. It looked like it had some male flowers in it, and I ate it. It was good. It was actually really good for a Breva, but I ate most of it and what didn't really see if there was any pollen in it. And that would have been cool. I did save seeds from it. I think I have seeds. I put them away, but they were right here in front of me. Save seeds from the Brava. So we'll see. I would be really curious to see if you could actually germinate seeds from a Brava. It wasn't pollinated. The Brava wasn't pollinated, of course. So I don't know. It was just a weird one to me. We're gonna find out. Okay. Now, what else we got here? All right, we're gonna keep going. One of the figs that I really appreciate is a variety called Alex. Yeah, that's it. This is a variety from Figus de Monde in France. These are produced from an Inground tree. It's not very big. These fruits were incredible. They were relatively early. They produced about the same time as Hardy Chicago. They have a good shape. They are rain resistant. They dry well on the tree. It's got everything you want, except we don't know how hardy it is. Um, there's no variety like it. I saw a thread I don't know, talking about this last year, or maybe it was earlier this year. You can see a lot of ants like this variety, but some people thought it was Negra de Agde, another French variety. It's not anything like Negra de Agde. I gave my friend Maddie, Brooklyn Maddie, a taste of this last year. It's kind of the way I think about it is like an early Bordeaux Saut Noir, an early Violet de Soleil. I kind of think of it as like a variant, like a weird mutation maybe or something of Violet's de Soleil or Bourgeois de Saute Noir, whatever you want to call it. Tastes really good. Um, this is definitely one of my favorite new varieties. All right. What else? All right. So next, by the way, all these videos that I've yet to publish on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, they're all going to get published when I have more time. And I'm going to publish them all pretty much at one time. So you can go and look at all the videos and hear what I had to say about it. And there even are some varieties, by the way, I didn't like brown turkey. I found a tree in Cape May, New Jersey, got cuttings from it, brought it back, grew it out. Turns out it's brown turkey. And, so I don't like it. It wasn't good. Now, it's not as ripe as it should be, but getting them ripe is a problem here in a humid climate. And so some of you guys might be thinking, well, I like every variety. That was one of the comments last year when I started posting a lot of these short videos. And it's like, well, there's plenty of varieties I don't like. I got rid of them over many years of trialing hundreds of varieties. Okay. So one of them I really like is Tourmalet. This is actually a video from last year. I think I deleted by accident some of the videos I had this year. Produces a lot of figs relatively early in the season. And my friend Mattia in Italy said, Ross, hold on to this fig. It's a good one. It's actually quite fruity. Ah, crap. So glad we just got rid of all those tabs. Okay. It's really a fruity fig and has a decent berry flavor to it, even though this was last year, it's still a young tree. You can see the pulp's like amber. Doesn't look like much. Um, the color is deceiving, I promise you. And I think it is somewhat amber red, like light red most of the time. I wonder if my live stream got cut out. I don't think so. Okay, what are we doing now? What's the next one? Let's just keep going. Silvano, you know what? I'm not even certain. I'm gonna have to really look back at the name of this one. I'm almost certain this is Silvano. It looks a lot like Tourmalet, by the way, but there's another fig called Prosto that I don't remember which one of it, which one of these it is. I had thought last year, after getting some fruits off of this, that this was English ground turkey. It's not. This is quite a large fig. They will somewhat spoil in the rain, um, but if you get some drier weather, they're very good. The texture is unbelievable. And I would, for something that ripens somewhat early, you got to give it some credit for that. The fruits are large, like I said. There's no variety like it, in my opinion. It's also somewhat fruity, decent berry flavor. But again, I don't, you know what? Actually, don't remember how bad it is in the rain. Because I think in this video here, I was like, still have to test its rain resistance, and I don't think I ever really got a good test of that this year with this variety. But I imagine it's not very good. That's my guess, but we don't know until we gather more data. In the meantime, I'm really impressed with it. Osborne Prolific. What's Osborne Prolific? It's another name for Godfather. Shout out to Coop, who found Godfather. There's also Naples Dark from Aaron Del Monto. Osborne Prolific is one of the most common varieties in the United States. It's hardy and it's got pretty much all the boxes checked. The question is, how rain resistant is it? I don't know. But for something unique, it's very good and different. And there's really not a whole lot of other varieties. Look at that pulp color. Um, this is a really awesome sugar fig, like Salche. It's really well worth. I'm telling you, something different. You're like, I want to try something new. Get an Osborne prolific. There's so many. What's crazy about the Adriatic figs, Osborne prolific, another one we're going to talk about in a minute called Beall. These are figs that have been in the fig communities, like for people who have been trialing a lot of varieties for a long time. I think even the USDA may have an Osborne prolific in their collection at UC Davis Riverside. I think they also imported Beall, if I'm not mistaken. But my point is that when I first started, these figs really got no love whatsoever, and it turns out they're really good. I actually think Flanders has a lot of potential too. Potential too. I want to try that one again. Um, so Osborne prolific, yeah, got to put it up there. And then, uh, oh yeah, what I wanted to say about the Adriatic figs, I have a video in here somewhere. It's like 6 minutes long of me just ranting. And man, these are some from last year, but there was like, oh, you know what? These are some of the figs here of the Adriatic JH that I ate late in the season. I couldn't believe how good they still were. Above it is a new variety called Lila. Actually, pretty impressed with that one too. But the Adriatic figs, man, when I first started, the word on the street was that they're splitters. And I stayed away from splitters. I tried not to get them. Uh, Once I learned more about varieties, I was like, oh, well, splitting's not good. Let's just not waste our time. We're not even going to try and grow them. What a mistake that was. I mean, I said it earlier, but these Adriatic figs, I don't care which one you have. I like White Madeira, the number one, the best so far. Um, there's two I found in Philly that actually are really good, and I think they're different than all the other ones slightly, but you can't beat them. And it's almost like even if you have multiple copies of them, there's so many names for it at this point. People keep introducing new ones like what's another one? Got two new ones. There's Green Goblin, I think, which is like commanding a crazy price. Angelito is actually pretty similar to the Adriatic figs. I don't know if it's NV1. I can't remember. There's two other ones that are like whatever. It doesn't matter. You know, um, they're all incredible. And for anybody who's serious about this and they don't have one of these, I don't know what you're doing. That's my point. This is just, I mean, like I said, if I could only choose one variety, it might just have to be this one for this area and pretty much for anywhere in the United States, I think. The only issue is, like I said, it ripens a little bit too late here, around September 1st for the main crop. It does produce some Breva, but the Brevas are pretty sparse. So it's like it's hard to just choose this one, but you gotta, it's like you a must grow. And I don't even care, like I said, I don't care which fancy name, just get Verte or Green Esquia or something like that. I mean, those are like they're so cheap. And the same thing with Bial. Let me look at Bial here. My little spiel about this is that, and this doesn't even do it justice. I deleted some videos I didn't mean to. This, I think, is very similar to a fig I really like called Brianzolo Rosso. And it's a creamy fig, creamy honey fig, has a different texture than most varieties, produces a ton of breva. And I'm almost certain of another variety called Vern's Brown Turkey is a synonym with these as well. It's hard for me to confirm, but these are very underrated varieties, I find. Now, they're not going to be perfect in moisture, But for most people who want something different, you want a good Breva producer, this is one that will produce a ton of Breva at a high quality. Um, I just can't say enough about it for people that, um, is it the only, is it the one variety you're going to want out of all others? Probably not. But here's Brianzola Rosso. It's really good. Very productive tree, by the way. Um, and what's cool is if it is actually, if they are all the same, I don't know if they're the same. It's hard for me to really say it definitively with Beall and Burns Brown Turkey. But what's cool about that is that those figs, if they are the same, that means that they originated very likely from Italy. You know, again, none of the varieties originated in the United States. They're not native to the Americas. So all of them were imported at some point. By the way, you're into native plants, you shouldn't grow figs. You shouldn't grow figs because none of them are native. Um, so what I'm thinking here, it's really cool to figure out what the history of these varieties is because you just never know. You read something from Condit's monograph that talks about some variety like 100 years ago. Whisper down the lane, what's right, what's wrong. You never know. And so Brianzolo, it's cool that maybe it actually is um, an Italian variety, or Beall and Verns Brown Turkey originated from Italy. All right. So another cool one is Fane. I should have talked about this one earlier because we mentioned the pollination thing. We basically said that, certain varieties, all varieties seem to improve with pollination. Some really improve. But there's a third category. Some need pollination because if you don't pollinate them, it's not that they won't ripen. There's probably a good 5 to 10 varieties, maybe, yeah, probably 10 to 15 varieties I've grown over the years that are like really not good. And it just makes me think if someone had pollinated them, what would they turn into? Look at the difference between that. That's from the same tree. I show you guys in the video. We talk about this in the video I talked about with pollination, but this video, I mean, you can't get any more proof than that. It's like, what is going on here? Even the skin color is different. Everything about this fruit is so different. And if it's just not pollinated, it's not going to taste very good. Some of the other varieties you could say like that are Tolosa from Figus de Monde. Um, there's some just not coming to my mind right now. But this is a great fruit if you pollinate it. So it's cool, certain varieties I want to keep around, like Inchario Preto, Unknown Pastilliere, like certain varieties are worth pollinating. Fauna is definitely worth pollinating. And then once you pollinate it, how does it stack up with the other varieties? And it should be worth pollinating certain varieties. If it's not worth it, don't do it. If it's not going to significantly improve, you have to take the time to collect the pollen, grow the capra fig for years, then get the pollen, then inject all the figs one by one. Maybe you have hundreds of figs you got to inject. It takes time. It takes a lot of time. Is it worth it? For certain varieties, it definitely will be. And by the way, once you eat pollinated figs, it's like you can't go back. You're spoiled. I'm so spoiled at this point. It's hard for me to eat figs that are not pollinated and underripe. I'm being honest with you. I just throw them in the pot, turn them into jam. The jam's good. Um, but I'm just spoiled, man. So spoiled. All right, what else here? I don't know if I have a video from it. Let's see here. Here we go. Sacramento River. Again, I think this might be from Trees of Paradise. If I'm wrong, please forgive me. I'm sorry if there's somebody out there I need to give credit to. This fig is huge. I mean, tennis ball size. Big eye. Not really meant for this climate. I'm going to be totally honest with you. But you eat this unpollinated, it's very good, number one. It's very productive. It seems to ripen relatively early. It's not a late fig. But what's crazy about it is it seems like to me it ripens really fast. So it has a short hang time, which, if that's true, is a bit of an anomaly because most of the bigger figs don't ripen as fast. This one here almost is sort of dried up on the tree, like starting the shriveling process. They ripen so fast that I think in between the time I was able to harvest the figs, I missed some of them and they kind of turned to mush and spoiled. So I should have been there earlier to pick my figs, and I missed some of them, I think, this year. So I don't know. We're gonna give it another year. I think it's an interesting one. I'm not, I think we live in a dry place. Pretty cool fig. Who knows what it'll do here? A really good one. Shout out to Aaron Del Monto, New Jersey Fig Farm. This is Sarrento, another fig people have slept on. He's released it for many years now. This is a really good one. This might be the best one out of all of his finds. Um, at first, I thought it was another Adriatic. You could see though it has a different shape, different stem length, different leaf pattern. So it's definitely not an Adriatic, but it tastes sort of similar. Plus, you got red pulp, green skin. So it was like, oh, it's kind of similar. There's another video I took with an even better looking fruit in it. Problem is, I deleted it probably, but yeah, yeah, it's really tasty, and I think it's more along the lines of like a paradiso. I almost wonder if it is compare this to like paradiso from Ciro as an example, what the similarities might be. It's really good, and so shout out to him for this one. It's amazing in the Northeast. There's plenty of varieties that we've never even heard of. They're just right here in our backyards. And some of them could end up being really unique and very good. This one I suspect is going to produce and do really well in the ground. Because he found this, I think, somewhere in Jersey, if I'm not mistaken. And if that's the case and it does well in Jersey, it should do well here. I don't know how hardy it is. Maybe their tree is not surviving the winter. I haven't physically seen the tree, but good shot, right? I also want to give a shout out to, oh no, what's his name? Oh, too many names here, guys. You know what? We might have to come back to that one. I think people are sleeping on Dalmati as well, just to put that one out there. I put a planera tree in the ground to see how well that's going to do with splitting. It typically splits in a pot. That's the same thing with a lot of these Adriatic figs that people talk about. You grow it in a pot, eventually it gets older. The trees don't have as much energy. They're not as annually as vigorous. The stem lengths are shorter and the figs are flatter and they end up splitting a lot. That's exactly what happens with Adriatic figs in the pot. So it's almost like no comparison growing them in a pot versus putting them in the ground. Um, I've heard really good things about Popone. I just want to throw that out there. Not that I even have a really established tree of it or can speak on it, but I think it's going to be a good one. Just got to get something established. Uh, Black Algiers. This turned out to be a pretty good fig. This reminded me of like a you can see the eyes open there, kind of split. This reminds me of like a late to ripen Nerucciola de Elba. It has a good berry flavor, stronger than most, but in the fall, when it's colder outside, the skin can become rather bitter, and the contrast, it's just not, it's too bitter, and so the sweetness kind of gets overpowered. Most fig varieties, believe it or not, I find have a slightly bitter skin, excuse me. And the bitterness is you don't even pick it up because the sweetness of the figs during the summer especially is so high that it's not in balance. You know, all the flavors of sweetness, acidity, bitterness, they have to be in balance. That's when you get a really good fig. And this to me has a tick higher bitterness like Elba. And for me, I really enjoy that. It's different, interesting. I think it's a great fig. Um, there's the inside. By the way, what I mean by Elba, it has more of that blackberry, blueberry flavor to it. We did update the flavor profiles. You can go and look at the berry figs, the different profiles on my website. I used to have a bunch of flavor profiles that I just didn't proper, really looking over them again, I didn't think they made a whole lot of sense. And I think I just dumbed it down to, all right, if it has a berry flavor, it's a berry fig. And so there's different kinds of berry figs. There's sugar berry, which is more like a sugar fig with a fruity flavor. You got figs that have purple or even a black pulp. They're typically blackberry or blueberry flavored. Then there's the cherry flavored ones, and then the raspberry and strawberry ones, which is probably the most common, very similar to like an Adriatic as an example. The blackberry and blueberry figs, they really wow people visually, but they're actually somewhat mild in their berry flavor, generally. Just something to note. Um, Now, if you could pollinate them and grow them in a warm place, this dry weather, who knows what you'd get? That's pretty cool. Um, what else here is on my list? I can't remember that guy's name. I'm so upset about it. I really want to give him some credit. All right, another fig that I think people have slept on a little bit is Verdal Negra. Verdal is just Verdino del Norte. There's Verdal Ibiza, there's Zigolino, Figoin. There's a lot of names for this. One of my favorite figs, without a doubt. Here's a black skin version. How did I not pick up on this? How on earth did I not pick up on this? Now, I didn't grow this variety. I think I got rid of it because you see it right here. Splits. That's not good. And you even read his description. Muy sensibles a los accidentes climáticos. So that end the eye, basically, opening of the eye right here. So that means it's not good when it rains. But we're going to find out. This is a clear sign, don't do it, right? When somebody tells you, like someone like this man, that's not him. That's not Montserrat Pons. But if somebody like Montserrat Pons tells you it's not good in rain, just take his word for it. You know, you're not, unless you're doing this on a crazy level, you don't need to do that. You really don't. It's got a second edition here. I didn't realize that. I wonder if he has it in English. Really should get one. Anyway, but we're doing it because that's what I do. All right. And then there's, I think, one more. Let me just see. Oh, if there's one more variety, and then we're done. We can get to the questions, guys. If you got questions, put them in the comments. Question, the last variety. Oh yeah, this might be. I'm really impressed with this fig. I did a video. So I did a video years ago, or no, last year, on what I thought was a different variety. Okay, so this I thought, if you look at this video, I thought this was the Ponte de Quartiera. Quartiera, I don't know, it's some Portuguese variety that I actually really like. And I go on and I describe this fig in the video and I say, you know what? It's does it, it should have this, and this. The texture should be really honey-like, very juicy, has so much nectar in it. I was so shocked. It was unique for that reason. And that's what I talk about, my prior experience with it. And then when I eat this one, I'm like, that's not like that at all. It didn't occur to me at the time. But right next to my DePonte tree, which is where I harvested this fig from, is actually a fig called Castle Tricino from Mario in Connecticut. This is a really, really tasty fig. Um, and it ripens early. I've done other videos on it. Here's actually a video we did like in 20, oh my God, 2022. Feels like forever ago. Um, is my hair crazy at this point? Nope. Anyway, this ripens really early and has a really great flavor. And every one I eat of this has been amazing. Um, what's also really cool, I don't know how hardy it is. Here's a really cool video I took. Um, here's a potted tree I have of it. I just rooted this from cutting. This like March or April, and the tree is just loaded with doubles. There's a double on every note. I've never seen this before. Um, as the tree got further progressed, even the other branches over here also have doubles. Just unreal production. Especially for a potted tree. I don't normally get that many doubles. If you're in a smaller pot, you're going to get a lot less for sure. So that's cool. I don't know if it's going to continue like that. I haven't seen that on my in-ground trees, but you know, the cool part about this variety is for as early as it ripens, it tastes amazing. And when you realize that early varieties that taste that good are so rare, um, that's a really special fig. So anyway, I think that's kind of the gist of most of the varieties I was really impressed with this year for different reasons. There's other ones, I'm still hopeful in a number of different varieties. If I didn't mention it, it's not like, oh yeah, don't like that fig anymore or something. But all right, let's get to everybody's comments here. I'm gonna try to start in the beginning. Thanks for all the donations. That was really nice of you guys. All right, so everybody can hear me. Someone said I prefer the videos. That's okay. Someone said they like the blogs. That's good. I mean, it really is a very different audience depending on which platform it is. This guy in Princeton maybe said Edible Landscape is a great nursery. Yep, they really are. David said, "Thank you for always sharing your knowledge and findings." Yeah, man, no problem. I honestly enjoy it. I like sharing things that I am passionate about with other people. Yeah, Del San Juan Migran, by the way, is a nice variety. And I myself am trying to get trees of it established in the ground. I almost got some to ripen this year. I, I wish we had a little bit of an earlier season. Everything's later this year for some reason. James says he's trying to get green Michurinska. Yeah, man. Should have plenty of cuttings this year. My tree, by the way, of green Michurinska is the biggest in my yard by quite a bit. It's huge. It's like 10 by 10 almost. Maybe 10 by, or maybe 8 by 8 is maybe a little bit more accurate. But it's huge. It takes up so much space and it produces a ton of fruit. What the proof's in the pudding right there. Uh, Scott said, I live in New York City or North Carolina, excuse me. I have 5 bushes taller than my house, and I use them in a wine mash. Wow, that's awesome, man. AZ Fig Farm. Hey Ross, this is have you had any root knot nematodes issues? What's up, Justin? Hope you're doing well, man. By the way, your fig, Corio Province, amazing. Seriously. I had one off a newly rooted tree. Um, I rooted this spring and I tasted it like a few weeks ago. It was so cold outside here. It tasted still amazing. It's a really great fig here. The sugar content's awesome in it, and you can really tell when you eat it. It's a high quality fig. I haven't had any issues with nematodes because even though they're present here in in my soil, they're not in a high enough quantity. I have a heavier clay soil, so it doesn't really affect the figs. There's LSU purple, which is nematode resistant. You could graft varieties onto that. There's other things people do. They plant their figs deep below the top foot of the soil where the nematodes live. Some people add a lot of organic material. I think even like alfalfa or like certain cover crops can help. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. That's nice of you to say. Yeah, I mean, I wish I could do these more, to be honest with you. Yeah, my book has plenty of hyperlinks in it. There's there's a lot of information in it, but it was really nice to know because at first I was like, well, I got to put this in it, I got to put that in it, I got to put so much in it. But if I could just use it as a PDF to people and then they can click on certain links that gives them so much more information. Um, that was a really nice change that I added in there. I was happy that I could do that. One of the other things I thought about was comments. You could put comments in your PDF. I don't know who this person is, but I'll look it up later. James said Delcourt. I think that's a Pons one, isn't it? There's a lot of Pons figs that people are getting into the United States, and some people are reporting really good results with them. Interesting fig. Weird how it's like triangular, you know? There's a fig called Fico Isa, that has that shape. Some resistances to opening of the eye. Um, Probably why I didn't choose this one, or try to find this one, I should say. What do you like about it? You just mentioning it? See, there's a little crack with the eye crack there on the side. Void. Definitely unique, but it sort of reminds me of like a Black Mission almost. Like a different take on Black Mission. All right. Let's see here. Where are we at? Yeah, I'm glad you guys hear me. Thanks for that. Uh, Tony said, all right, for 6B, what are pros and cons of rooting cuttings starting in November versus waiting till February? There is the main pro of starting cuttings earlier is that your trees can be bigger by the time the spring comes around. And then when the spring comes around, you can actually get some good fruit this year. And potentially by the end of the year, you could maybe even get some higher quality fruit. The the trees in the first year really don't produce high quality fruits, even though they'll fruit plenty. That's the main benefit. But I would just say you don't want to start them until you have the right environment, the right rooting environment. If you can do that, provide that, you're good. If not, you're wasting your time. And in fact, you might kill a bunch of them. How many trees can you pollinate with one caprifig? That's a good question, man. I don't know. I think I collected pollen this year from at least two trees, and I probably pollinated close to, I don't know, about 200 figs maybe. Maybe you could get up to 300. Then again, it's like how many brevas how many Profici did I harvest? The trees are not as productive or as old as they could be. Yeah. Tom said, Tinkerbug Figs sells seeds. That's cool. Um, yep. Growing them around is definitely where it's at. Kenny, what's up, bud? Darn it. I was trying to avoid hand pollinating. Yes. Well, given, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Seriously. We do all these different techniques and propagation and this and that. Pollination is well worth it. It's a lot of fun. And when you open up each fig and you look at them, you're like, is it pollinated? Is it not? And it's like a little surprise. And then when you eat it, you're like, holy crap. Uh, Pestelier has such a reputation for dropping its fruit. No, it's not. No, the reason why it drops its fruit, which I talked about last year, we really figured this one out. It's unforgiving to times of dry soil. The soil dries out, it's going to drop figs like that. And the same thing happens with Celeste, a bunch of other varieties. Celeste is probably the most well known. Yeah, guys, I'm not saying a spy A is a bad thing. It's just, you're going to be missing out a little bit. Now, if you grow them in a greenhouse, you have an espalier fig in a greenhouse, and you're growing it as a low cordon, you cut them back. Well, it's like, all right, well, they're in a greenhouse. So the greenhouse is going to improve the fruit quality because you're not going to have any rain on them. Now, you'll see in some people's espalier trees that even have them in greenhouses, they can still split. You got to lower the water, but also the fact that you have them growing as espalier, the way that they grow, the excess of energy that they have. They're just bigger fruits, and certain varieties, when they're just bigger, they will split no matter what. The fruit can only handle so much, and as it swells and gets bigger, it expands and it has to expand somewhere. Some of the varieties expand outwards. What the heck? Yeah, so some of them will, expand outwards, and some of them will expand downwards. And the ones that expand downwards, that's the ones you want. Because the more they go out, the more they're gonna split. Where was I at here? By the way, thank you, Ripple Effect. Appreciate that. Top five varieties for Houston: Smith, Coldadams, Black Celeste, Green Machurinska, and one of the Adriatic figs. Yeah, I start cuttings in a greenhouse every year. Um, I can't even reply. All right. Well, hopefully you got that, man. Let's see. So let's try to open this by. Okay, I got figs. Outside in Georgia said I got figs stapled to the ground with a wire hoop over it with a frost blanket covering. Cold snaps and wind hurt my figs. I think 26 degrees will be tested. Well, if they're well lignified, they should be able to withstand at least 5 degrees Fahrenheit if they're a hardy variety. And the duration is really critical. If you have them stapled to the ground and protected like that, I think you're going to be fine. A frost blanket might not be enough. Don't know how thick your frost blanket is. If any air gets underneath the blanket, that's not good. You want to keep and insulate that. All the heat has to stay in there 24/7. James said unknown prosciutto. It's a good one. And you know what? I really was hoping it was going to produce a ton of Breva as it did in the past. It didn't do that this year. So, I really had high hopes for it. We'll see if it can reproduce that at some point, or I have one in the ground, so we'll see. Tom said I put Blanche de Saison on the ground this year from Big Bill. I didn't get any ripe figs, but it was super productive. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Blanche de Saison's an awesome Adriatic. They're all really productive, man. James said I think LSU Strawberry is an improvement. Is that over Adriatic? That would be interesting. Oh man, LSU Tiger's good in the greenhouse, huh, Troy? Wow. Yeah, here outside of the greenhouse, it was a real bummer. Uh, Max said, which CPA prep course did I take? It was Roger CPA. I didn't do Becker, but everyone does Becker, and you probably should just do Becker. I liked Roger's um, style of teaching. He was not boring. He was a little bit extra, but the the questions, prior exam questions, was the best thing that helped me, I think. And just repeatedly doing those, like flashcards. Anyone growing ripe in UCR 187.25? I haven't grown that one, I don't think. Is there another name for that one? It's never really been one that I'm like, I gotta try it, but I hear a lot of people like wonder about it. All right, AMC said you never have too many figs to eat. Oh yeah, that sounds great. Sounds good. Thank you. All right. John said I sent you an email today about cherry cordial. Did you get one this year? Uh, I don't believe so. I think I have ruby rose and not cherry cordial. And I have by the way, I wrote down every fig variety I've got. Um, I would love to try to grow cherry cordial, but there is another one, not ruby rose, but there's another one I think that's similar. I always get it mixed up. Whatever. Yeah, I don't believe I have that one. I got so many emails, guys. It's crazy. I'm gonna be totally honest with you. It's really hard to keep up, and I try to respond to everybody. It's just so difficult nowadays, and it keeps getting worse because I just keep expanding, which is a good thing. I'm not complaining. I just, I hope you guys understand it can take me a little bit just to get back to people. Um, oh, that's right. I think I may have had 187.25. Is that Emerald Strawberry? AMC said, can Calderona be ripe in the Northeast? Yeah, I would love it if it was a hardy tree that I could really evaluate in the ground, but so far I can't. But it ripens most of its fruits. This year it ripened all of them, I think. even well before frost. Good, great variety for the Northeast, without a doubt. I would prefer it over Black Madeira, but I would say Colonel Littman's is slightly better. Yo, Joe, thank you for joining us. Osborne prolific will bear fruit in the shade. That's good to know. I don't know what strawberry crunch is. Angelito, Bass, Lebanese, Bakrati. I don't know what that is. You mean Baka? Godfather does have a cool story. Kassam Earth said recommendation for the Southwest. Man, ripple effect. Thank you so much, man. I hope you really you got the information. Okay, for the Southwest, well, you got to grow the best tasting ones, like Col Adriatic, Black Madeira. It's hot and dry. If you really want to figure it out beyond that, my the book I just published is a great resource. Choosing a fig variety. It'll cover that. Everyone's climate. It goes over every single climate, gives you so many different resources in it. You got the best climate though, so congrats. Brendan said I bought a house where the previous owners planted a fig on the side of the house. It gets mostly shade. It's been there for decades. It's huge, doesn't ripen well. Yeah, shade, it depends on how many hours. If it's like 4 to 5 hours, it should be enough. And then it comes down to the pruning that you do. If you're pruning it improperly or if it takes a lot of winter damage, that's not good. And what you need to do is really learn how to prune these fig trees. This is a great video. It'll show you exactly how to prune it, and then you got to worry about just protecting it if you're in a cold place. You could also get cuttings or dig up a sucker like Chayton said. Just you can very easily propagate them or dig up a piece of it, dig up a portion of the root ball. Yeah, Tom, that's sad that you moved to the Appalachians. I'm sorry. You went from the perfect place to one of the more difficult places. Skia Black was amazing in San Diego, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. Am I buying Harvey's farm? That would be nice. I can't afford it. Plus, I can't live in California. All my friends and family are here. External Light said, do you have a list for the best varieties to hand pollinate for flavor and texture? I heard Feather River and Plein Air are the best when you pollinate them. Yeah, Feather River is a good one when you pollinate it, I'm sure. Um, that's good to know. I don't have a list like that. Some people have been pollinating their figs longer than I have. My major realization was that they're all better when you pollinate them, even just a little bit. Bungalow Bill, are you still impressed with St. Martin? Yeah, I am. Didn't get any fruit from it this year because my two trees in the ground just weren't able to fruit. That's all. But one of them didn't take any winter damage, which is very promising. James said Izadi pomegranate. I would love to. It's just, is it going to survive the winter here? That's the major problem with pomegranates. Oh, Delcor has a raspberry flavor? Okay. Uh, MG says, I have a very poor results with different rooting techniques, so I decided to use the old Italian way, which proves to be better with our hot, dry climate. I mean, there's nothing wrong with just sticking them straight in the ground in the spring. and just not thinking about it. You can wax the tops or parafilm the tops, put them in a bed that's really well draining. You could also try, if you're really struggling, try smaller pots, like 2 or 3 inch pots, 4 inch pots. 4 inches is too big. Try like a 2.5 inch pot and see what happens. Less soil, less moisture, less chance of them doing bad. You can also pre-root them. Some people are rooting them in sand. That's one way to pre-root them. You can put them in sphagnum peat moss or a wet paper towel. I think Sultane's worth it, man. I think it's overall a very nice variety. Like it checks most of the boxes, produces a nice breba. My only gripe so far is it was one of the trees that died all the way to the ground this year. And I did not expect that. I mean, it wasn't the most lignified, but it should have done better than it did, I think. West Virginia Retreat said, would you consider doing a video on planting an orchard, a fig orchard? Man, I don't even know if I had something like that. I have videos where we talk about, I thought I did a video for you guys about planting a new orchard, just a new fruit tree orchard, not fig specific or anything like that. I thought I did one of those. Where is it? If I think about it, it'll come back to me. I don't have Nuestra Senora del Carmen anymore, Tata, because it's very similar to Black Madeira. Oh, actually, I do have it. What am I talking about? Yeah, it's in the ground. The problem with it is it's not as established as it needs to be, and it keeps getting knocked back by the cold. So until I can, on the southern plot, protect all the trees there, get them through the winter time, it's very difficult evaluating any of them. Maybe I should make a copy and put it somewhere else. That'd be nice. Scott's Black, I think I don't have it anymore. I think I got rid of all of them. I don't see the value in it for my climate. No, I still have it. I still have one in the ground somewhere. Excuse me. Um, it's not great here. So what I do is I just prune it and sell the cuttings. It's nice to have in other places. Here, there are better figs. So I just have a tree of it in the ground to for the purposes of my nursery. John said, I'll send you cuttings of the cherry cordial. Oh, that's nice of you. All right, I'll get back to your email. I'm sure at some point, man. I appreciate that. Tom said Bass has another Lebanese out there, Adriatic, like green skin, red pulp. Lebanese green, you talking about? I have one, I think, from him, but I'm not even sure what anything about it. Oh, you like the Appalachia? All right. Oh, wow, that's cool. Must have had a really healthy tree, man, of Esquia Black. Oh, good for you, man. Oh, it's just a shade structure, not plastic, huh? Like greenhouse plastic. Because if the rain can get through, you might be actually doing more harm than good. Now, is the heat going to be reduced and that might help them? Potentially. But if you're going to have, you're basically creating more humidity by doing that. It's kind of a bummer because the more humidity you have, the worse the fruit quality is going to be. So let's say it rains. Well, the whole shade structure, that netting, is gonna have moisture on it. And you know, the like just like if there's moisture on leaves, it has to dry in the sun. Um, so it won't dry. It's gonna create more humidity than you need. But hey, I guess it's worth a shot. Yeah, might be worth a shot. Hey, what's up, man? I'm sad you missed it too. But you know what? You can always go back and rewatch it. I'm not growing indoors. I don't have the setup or the space. Uh, but you're doing a really good job with it, that's for sure. Jeremy said I got a tree from New Jersey Fig Farm called Seas Red. Yeah, that one's just a Columbaro Nero by a different name. My friend Chris and Manny, shout out to those guys. They're so nice. They're in Pennsylvania, and they're the ones who introduced Seas Red. I believe Manny did. He loves it. They're he, Manny loves Seas Red, but it's not the best variety in moisture. Will it do well? Yeah, it's actually really hardy. It'll produce some good brevas, but it might cause more problems than it's worth because of the fruit flies and fermentation and rain and all that crap. Oh, it's waterproof plastic? All right, good. Well, then you're good, man. That's gonna help. The temps are extreme. Yeah, 95, high humidity with 110. Gonna be water if we get way too much rain. Yeah, if you're gonna grow it underneath greenhouse plastic, something like that, that isn't going to increase the heat. I don't even know what you're even. You should send me a link to whatever that is. Whatever that is. I want to see what you're looking at. Uh, yeah, I think Bass's favorite's the same as Calderona. I grew them side by side, and I was pretty much convinced. I didn't think they tasted any different, and they looked the same. But well, anyway, guys, we're at the end here. The comments. I hope everybody got something out of this. It was good, everybody. It was good having you guys here. I enjoyed it. Always like doing these live streams. You guys know that. Sharing what we're doing, and I'll catch everybody soon. All right. Any luck with the Italian 258 in the ground? Again, it's one of them trees on the southern plot. It has not survived the winter. It's actually like 13, 14 feet tall, though. It's the biggest tree in the yard. Um, yeah, I wish I could get it through the winter. And if I could, I know it would do well. Big Bill actually has a tree in the ground. Last year, I saw it in person. Amazing tree, amazing variety. So don't give up. All right, guys. Thank you for everybody for joining me here, being supportive over the years. And I'll catch you guys later, okay? Have a good night.